Iowa State has a ton of talented players that they're going to want to retain for next season, which also means that Penn State's going to want those same players to enter the transfer portal.
You are Locked On College Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
That is right. It is a Locked On crossover to talk Penn State and Iowa State as Penn State hires away Matt Campbell and Iowa State moves quickly to get its next head coach. My name is Seyko. I'm the host of Locked On Nittany Lions. He is Nick Marovets, the host of Locked On Cyclones, as we're talking everything Penn State, Iowa State in this episode, which is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com to place your live NFL live bets all season long. Friendly reminder to let us know your thoughts down in the comment section as we're going to talk about the trajectories for both programs now for Penn State and Iowa State respectively. We'll get to that later. Other personnel moves to watch. We're going to focus on the players first and foremost, but assistant coaches. Nick, I want to get your thoughts, reviews on guys that have already moved over. Coach Clanton, Coach Heacock, right, for example. And depending on when you listen and watching to this, other moves might already be made. But we're going to talk about the transfer portal. This is stuff that everybody loves to speculate about, myself included. Is Penn State going to go after Rocco Becht? Is Penn State also going to go after Alex Mansky, right? Take the whole quarterback depth chart. Running backs, tight ends, offensive linemen. I really like Iowa State's secondary. They were banged up, but that is a really talented secondary when you actually go through the data and the analysis. So, Nick, if you had your preference as far as who Iowa State should keep and Jimmy Rogers should build around for next season, your answer is going to be very telling as far as who Penn State should want to enter the portal.
I mean, yeah, that's the thing is you're asking me this and I feel like I'm just showing you my hand as far as cards go. Like, hey, these are the most important players. I mean, to be fair though, anybody can watch the games and make these same conclusions. So, I mean, there's going to be guys that everybody's going to know, like Rocco Becht. I feel like a lot of Iowa State fans love Rocco Becht. Obviously, success against Iowa is one of those factors, but he's been very good in Big 12 play as well. I'll be curious to see. I think this is a question you could answer better than me, where Penn State is at as far as quarterbacks go. But there is certainly a connection between Rocco Becht and Matt Campbell, and I believe it was in the presser that Matt Campbell said this. I can't remember if it was presser or if it was Josh Pate when he was like, the connection between the quarterback and the head coach is very important. Obviously, they have that connection. A couple other guys that I just don't want Iowa State to lose. Brett Eskelson, unbelievable wide receiver for Iowa State this season. Feels like he's kind of been the guy so far. But Chase Sowell has been very good as well. We've heard that Xavier Townsend might have been a little bit banged up. So maybe he has a higher, talent ceiling that we just haven't quite achieved yet. I do want Iowa State to keep both their running backs. And I will say really quickly, I think that they have a really good chance at doing so. They just brought in the Detroit Lions tight ends coach to be their offensive coordinator potentially. And he was those two running backs coach just a year ago. So I do feel pretty good about that one on the offensive side of the ball. Defensively, a name that I really, really want to keep is Marcus Neal Jr. That kid has been unbelievable for Iowa State. I'm not exactly sure. I think Bacon is coming back as far as I am aware. But that whole linebacker room really would be electric. I talked about it probably more than anything else all last offseason, that linebacker room was going to be unreal, and they were. That was a very good linebacker room. Secondary, you mentioned it. I think it's Jeremiah Cooper and Jontez Williams are going to be unbelievable this next season. Obviously didn't play at all this year, hardly. Yeah. And then I didn't even touch on the tight ends, Bramer and Burkle. Like if we can keep both of them, I think at a linebacker or as a tight ends coach at Detroit, we have a chance at keeping those guys in the house. But that's just a handful of guys. I think that there are a ton of talented guys further down on the depth chart that we haven't really gotten to. But the stars for Iowa State, like those are your guys.
Yeah, and it's going to be very dependent on what Penn State's able to keep in-house as well. So they don't need Rocco Becht because they have a starting caliber quarterback in Ethan Grunkemeyer. But if he follows James Franklin to Virginia Tech, well, then you're without you're without a starting caliber quarterback. So that's kind of the domino effect there. Is I wonder if Becht is monitoring that situation. And we don't even know if any of these players actually want to transfer, right? I think that, they're probably looking at this and saying, hey, I don't like that my head coach left, but do I want to transfer to Penn State, an unfamiliar place, especially when I've spent the last 4 or 5 years, for the veterans, they've spent 4 or 5 years in Ames, Iowa. So it's not necessarily a culture shock, but just to drop down for a season, the head coaching hire at Iowa State kind of mitigates some potential losses, right? Going to Washington State and getting Jimmy Rogers right away, instantly, they wasted no time. That helps with those conversations. But I agree as far as what Penn State it's really dependent. It's okay. If you don't need Rocco Becht, you're not going to try to hope that he goes into the portal.
Right.
I would say running backs, because Penn State's I'm anticipating a lot of turnover at the running back spot with Singleton and Allen going off to the NFL. Quentin Martin, Corey Smith, those guys are talented. I would like for them to stick around. Cam Wallace too. They have 3 really talented running backs, but I'm anticipating that they leave. So if you want to keep that high level of play, you're hoping, if you're Penn State, that both Carson Hansen and Abu Sama both enter the portal, because then you have a nice 1-2 punch for next season's offense potentially.
Those running backs are simply incredible, and I think they're a backbone of what Iowa State's going to be. A couple of the coaching things that you mentioned there really quickly, like Iowa State's going to lose guys, and one of the guys that already decommitted from the 2026 class, I think Iowa State actually might take a bigger hit in the 2026 class, was Will Slagle. Obviously, you guys got Ryan Clanton. We'll talk about that in a second. Matt Campbell, both go over to Penn State, and so what does he have to stay at Iowa State? He's not even been there yet. It's just literally like, okay, I'm going to just choose this is the same coach, just a different place on the map. But as far as, Jimmy Rogers coming in, I just said this the other day. I personally feel like right now, of course, I could be saying this way too early. I'm wrong. That's totally possible. But I feel like there are always going to be guys that are going to jump in the portal. Like whether Iowa State made a Big 12 championship game or lost all of their games, there were going to be guys that were going to jump in there regardless. It just wasn't the right fit. And there are going to be guys that are going to stay regardless. Now, obviously, with the coaching change, that number is much smaller. But like myself, I love Ames, right? Like there's guys that just fall in love with the place. They're really, really close to home. Doesn't really matter. They're glad to be playing at a Power 4 level. Maybe they're further down the depth chart, whatever. There's reasons people stay. There's gray area in the middle there. And I do think Jimmy Rogers has done a very good job so far at persuading that gray area to stay. Right now, it's not going to be 100%. And it's still way too early to make a definitive statement. But I do feel like Jamie Pollard being so quick with the move, immediately giving the players, like, this is the direction the program is going, not even giving them I didn't even have time to record a show between Matt Campbell leaving and Jimmy Rogers being announced. There was no time for the players to be like, is this like, what is this going to look like? Like, look outside, like, what are other programs? It was immediately, this is what we're doing. And I think Jimmy Rogers jumped in immediately and said, like, I understand you guys came here for a lot of different reasons, but Matt Campbell wasn't the only one. I will do a good job of coaching this program, and this is still Ames, Iowa. This is still Cyclone Nation. This is still Jack Trice Stadium that packs itself ridiculously well. Like, I do feel pretty good, but there are some names that we're throwing around that, like, I don't know.
Very dependent on, again, what Penn State does or doesn't have. If there's no need for a quarterback, then there's no need for Rocco Becht and Alex Mansky. And that's debatable. I won't get into that here, but since he does have Becht has one more season, Mansky could go and develop, right, and see. So that to be determined, but offensive lineman, since the offensive line coach did move on, Ryan Clanton, we'll talk about that in the upcoming segment here. Other assistant coaches that are going to be key. Okay, so Jon Heacock comes over, Ryan Clanton, player personnel manager in Derek Hoosier. But there's one assistant coach that I really want Penn State to hire, and that's the wide receivers coach in Noah Pauley. We're going to talk more about him and other names to watch for coming up next here on this Locked On Crossover. And this episode is brought to you by Rugiet. Let's talk about something most men don't bring up, but absolutely should. Stress from work, money, life. It doesn't just switch off at night. And when it shows up at the worst possible time, Rugiet Ready is designed to help you take back control. Rugiet Ready is a next-generation prescription treatment created to support both the brain and the body so you can feel present, confident, and ready when the moment matters. Rugiet Ready combines 3 clinically proven ingredients in 1 mint that dissolves under your tongue so it absorbs fast. It's the science behind Rugiet Ready that stands out. So you have those 3 clinically proven ingredients in one formula designed for both mental and physical readiness. You connect with a board-certified doctor online, and everything ships discreetly to your door. It's easy to understand why over 150,000 men have already made the switch. If you've been thinking about taking the next step, now's the time. Head to Rugiet.com/LockedOnCollege. That is RUGIET.com/LockedOnCollege to get 15% off your order for a limited time. That's right, 15% off your order for a limited time. Rugiet Ready. Feel present, feel confident, feel ready. And this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. NFL Sundays move fast. One big play and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is the best when the game starts to shift. A receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment. Live spreads and money lines adjust instantly. Player props update as guys heat up. You can bet next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, every possibility. You can bet on NFL football. You can bet on college football. Lines for Penn State and Clemson are available in their upcoming bowl game. Penn State is an underdog here. 3.5 points on the spread. So Clemson is a 3.5-point favorite. Plus 134 on the money line for Penn State, minus 162. If you're thinking the Tigers, the total is set at 48.5. If you like those lines, you can bet them over at FanDuel.com or the FanDuel app. And if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. That's FanDuel. The game moves fast, and so can you. And thank you for making Locked On Nittany Lions your first listen and watch every single day. And thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network out there. You already live your team every day. Now take it up a level and go ad-free. Join the Everydayer Club today and get Locked On Nittany Lions with no interruptions, members-only Discord access, and so much more. All for just $5 a month. $5 a month or $50 a year. Go to LockedOnNittanyLions.supercast.com or check the link in the show notes to learn more. Penn State already Matt Campbell did not hesitate. It's kind of the same thing with Iowa State not hesitating to go and get Jimmy Rogers as the head coach. It was pretty telling which moves Matt Campbell prioritized there. Derek Hoosier as that general manager for Penn State now going forward. Just everything that I've heard about him, great evaluator of talent. So what happens when you get the war chest, right? To go and spend and get talent in more ways than just, hey, you're really good at recruiting. You have a great message, that kind of thing. Now you have some leverage in NIL and in resources there. But the one assistant that, and eager to see what Ryan Clanton can do as an offensive line coach, also the run game coordinator. I think that's an undervalued part of what he did at Iowa State. Eager to see that with Penn State. The guy I want to focus on first and foremost, Nick, is Noah Pauley, because he put Penn State would get a wide receiver here and there, and this was even before the wide receiver woes. But to see the resume speaks for itself with Pauley putting not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 prospects over the course of the same NFL draft in rounds 2 through 4. I mean, it speaks volumes to me.
Yeah, he was one of those names that going into this last season, I was extremely excited about, obviously, with Higgins and Knoll and what they did, not this last season because Iowa State season is effectively over now that we're not bowling, but the year prior. That was super exciting, 2,000-yard dudes. What can he do with, Brett Eskelson, with Chase Sowell, Xavier Townsend, even guys like Eli Green, and before Isaiah Alston transferred to JMU, he was a name that I was extremely high on. I love Noah Pauley and what he, does as far as coaching points, but also how he puts these receivers in the best position possible. I think that that's a great, that's a name that Penn State should want on their squad. There are definitely coaches that if you ask the majority of the Iowa State fan base, they'd be like, well, I mean, you can have him. we don't need that guy. I think Noah Pauley's a name that Iowa State would love to have on their roster. Obviously, therefore, Penn State would as well. I don't know where Noah Pauley stands. And a part of this too, like you mentioned, I don't know as far as Penn State players, which does Rocco Becht go over if Penn State already has a quarterback? It's his last year of eligibility. No, he's probably not going to leave. If Iowa State kicks these guys to the curb because it's a new regime, obviously Penn State's more likely to grab them, I would think, than if they were, offered a bunch of money to stay here, because by my accounts, like my research, it sounds like Jimmy Rogers is going to have the same amount of money to give his assistant coaches. So it won't be like a weird money issue where they're going to get paid less. Yeah. I would assume that it's going to be a choice type of situation. So Noah Pauley, though, a great name.
Jon Heacock is actually, again, reportedly coming over to Penn State. Well, that means they got a new DC. No, it doesn't, because he was contemplating retirement. You'll add some context there. We talked about this off air briefly, but Taylor Mauser is the one, is the guy that I want to focus on, because Andy Kotelnicki, people hate him now. Some, maybe even most Penn State fans don't like Andy Kotelnicki now, but he did lead them as a top 15 offense in the country the season prior, when after James Franklin was fired, and Terry Smith, the interim, said, hey, settle down with the gimmick plays. You got to stop that. And they opened up the pass. Once someone held him accountable, Andy Kotelnicki, no one was questioning him. No one was questioning his play calling across the board. So he settled down and proved that, hey, this guy's still a competent play caller. Same thing. Jim Knowles, same thing. So Mauser's going to be interesting, because I would expect Andy. I don't expect Andy Kotelnicki to be back. Just because I say it's a possibility doesn't mean that, oh, this is the direction that Penn State's going to go. I anticipate that Mauser would be Penn State's offensive coordinator next year. And since they just lost a tight ends coach as well.
Yeah, he has been the tight ends coach before at Iowa State. Really quick, that context you were alluding to as far as Jon Heacock, I just want to throw out here, the whole situation with this whole hiring and whatever and moving on has been so odd, because it was like, obviously it did move fast, but once it was announced at like noon on Friday last week that Campbell was going to sign, we waited like 8 hours. I feel like that was unusual. Usually you hear he's going to sign, and then not that long after it's official. Like they're pretty quick on that. And so that delay made me very hopeful, which I'm not a huge fan of. But same thing here with Heacock. Like, it's announced he's going over, and now it's been a few days and we haven't heard anything. And yesterday he went and met with the women's basketball team at Iowa State with an Iowa State logo on. And that was like, we all saw, every Iowa State fan saw the video of Matt Campbell walking into the team meeting wearing white. Like, it was clear he wasn't wearing any Iowa State gear. So I don't know what Heacock is doing, because I assume he's not coming back to Iowa State. If he is, it's going to be in some sort of, like you had referenced off air, some sort of like coaching role, but not really calling plays. Iowa State already, consultation, great word. Iowa State already hired 2 DCs. So like, I don't know if he's going to be the DC there, but does he go out to Penn State and do kind of the same thing? I'm not entirely sure. Now, when you're talking about the offensive side of the ball, I want to be very clear when I say this. I love Taylor Mauser. Okay. I'm okay with saying that. He is not my favorite play caller of all time. He has had a few games that I felt like we were very capable of winning, and play calling was what held us back, especially this season during that 4-game skid. And you talk about the trick plays. I tweeted out.
Oh no. So you can relate.
I tweeted out, I don't remember what game it was, but I said, I feel like I can tell when Taylor Mauser decides this is a play I want to run. And it's just chaos. There's some sort of reverse, some sort of, tight ends doing a QB sneak. He maybe changes his ways when he goes over to Penn State, but that's one thing to look out for with Taylor Mauser. All of that being said, still a phenomenal play caller. Like, does a very good job for 95%.
He's better at scheming, but you would say on game day, a little questionable.
Definitely makes some questionable calls. That's a great way to put it. The only thing I don't like, and this could be something that only Rocco Becht, is a contributing factor. He loves to call sprint outs on like 3rd and 5s. I hate that personally. That's just me. So if you love sprint outs, he's your guy, or maybe it's Rocco Becht. That's your guy. I just don't know. But that's the one thing as far as scheming that I don't love from him. But he's a good name, great coach. The players love him. He's a very accountable guy. I do expect him to follow Campbell. We all saw that story during the Cyhawk game where he said he left his girlfriend to follow Campbell. Like, yeah, this guy is loyal for sure. So be excited, but also be aware.
So, and Mauser could just simply take the tight ends coaching job.
Right.
He doesn't necessarily need to be brought on as an offensive coordinator, but, taking a self-demotion, how's that going to affect the ego, right? So just something to be monitoring here. But Penn State does, if they're okay with it, right, individually, Heacock, Mauser, any of those guys, if they're willing to take an analyst or a position coach role, and then Penn State, Matt Campbell are able to keep some of the other guys in place like they already have with Terry Smith. Okay, hey, it's kind of about merging the best of both worlds. Is it just Noah Pauley that you would like to keep overall? Or are you kind of excited with the fact that Jimmy Rogers is going to go in a different direction with some new coaching names?
I mean, I would have loved to see Ryan Clanton stay. That's another name that you brought up, and I immediately was like, yeah, that's just a great hire. Like, did a phenomenal job with Iowa State this season. I am excited as much as I can be about the direction Iowa State can go, and I'm just trying to, at this point, kind of put the past behind me and look to what the future can be. There are some other names like Deion Broomfield, I think, did a phenomenal job with the safeties. His name was also removed from the assistant coaches list on Iowa State's website. And I don't know for sure, obviously, what that means, but it's another name to look out for. I think he's been phenomenal. I expect Jimmy Rogers to bring in a lot of new staff. So I'm not trying to stay too attached. Obviously, you're asking for coaches to look out for. I would say Noah Pauley is definitely number one, though.
Yeah, Noah Pauley, Ryan Clanton. Clanton's officially on staff, but Pauley, right. Yeah, since it's still up in the air at the time of this recording, just wanted to get your thoughts there. But it sounds like you are optimistic for the Jimmy Rogers era, and I agree, as you should be. I'm extremely optimistic for the Matt Campbell era at Penn State. So we're going to talk about both programs' trajectories coming up next here on this Locked On Crossover. And this episode is brought to you by Aura Frames. The holidays are officially here, which means gift hunting season is on. And if you want something meaningful, personal, and guaranteed to get a reaction, Aura Frames is the gift that delivers every time. It's not just something you wrap. It's a way to share memories, because Aura isn't your average picture frame. You can preload the frame with photos before gifting it, so when they plug it in, the memories are already there. No apps to figure it out, no setup headaches, just instant smiles. You can give it to grandparents, parents, newlyweds, anyone who loves photos. And you can put endless uploads of pictures and 30-second videos through the Aura app. Add personal messages right inside the frame so the gift feels thoughtful from the moment it's open. Packaging comes, this is truly a game changer during the holiday season. Packaging comes gift ready. No price tag, no wrapping needed. That's a huge win, especially when you're going to be busy as it is. For a limited time, save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver matte frames, named #1 by Wirecutter, by using promo code COLLEGE at checkout. That is auraframes.com, promo code COLLEGE. This deal is exclusive to listeners, and frames do sell out fast. So order yours now to get it in time for the holidays. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. Iowa State, look, this isn't me trying to be disrespectful, but Penn State is going after national titles, and they go and hire Matt Campbell with that intention, right? They believe that, okay, if we give him the resources, the leverage, he can take us to that next level. Iowa State, I feel like, is pretty capable of being in the mix year in and year out in the Big 12. If you find the right head coach, you try to build out resources. I don't think Iowa State's issue is being able to get talent or get capable head coaches. It's kind of just keeping up in this arms race of NIL and the portal. And it's Iowa State just kind of at a disadvantage there. So I'll let you lead here. Your expectations as far as what Jimmy Rogers can do and picking up where Matt Campbell left off.
Yeah, well, as far as where Iowa State is at, I would say they're closer than ever. Like the trajectory of Iowa State through Matt Campbell's tenure, I'll go from over here. It was kind of like this, kind of like a just up and down, but it ended up here and it started here, lower than obviously when Matt Campbell got there. So there is that to be excited about. I don't think we're going to get reset to zero by bringing Jimmy Rogers in. And I will say, like, the money thing has been a huge talking point, because it is obvious that Penn State has more resources, and it's pretty clear that Matt Campbell went there to win more, and Penn State brought him in to win bigger games. And that was obviously the narrative around James Franklin. I will say I am optimistic about Jimmy Rogers because he spent a ton of time at SDSU, and he's talked about, I recruited a bunch of guys on this roster, and he knows what it takes to win in the Midwest. Iowa State just simply doesn't have a ton of money unless they go the Utah route and bring in private equity or whatever. Like, they're going to be forced to bring in homegrown, corn-fed guys out of the state of Iowa and Nebraska, that 6-hour radius that Matt Campbell talks about, and win in the trenches. And that's what Jimmy Rogers talked about in his first press conference. I feel really good about that's the route that Iowa State's going to take, as opposed to trying to get some, 5-star wide receivers and quarterback out of the portal. Like, you can do that. You can win games that way. You absolutely can. But it's going to be hard for Iowa State to keep up on the money side of things over there. The expectation right now, I feel like, next season is kind of up in the air. This isn't Jimmy Rogers' recruiting class. We're going to have to see how the portal goes. It's just a matter of time. I think I'll be able to give a better answer on that, when the first, or I guess it's the only portal window closes. But over the course of the next 3 to 4 years, I personally expect Jimmy Rogers to be, in the conversation in the last 4 weeks of the season, at least twice. Like, you're not going to get it every year. I think you probably need to get it more than once. Matt Campbell, like, if this team, they were very capable of winning those 4 games. I don't know what happened.
Yes. Injured. The flurry of injuries.
So injury prone. So, like, outside of that, I think that this team could have potentially made a run at the Big 12 title. That's where this program has been over the last few years. Obviously, a major step up from the decades prior, but I expect Jimmy Rogers to take this to like you mentioned, Iowa State has literally never won a Big 12 title. Like, bring our first Big 12 title home, and that's a huge success.
Yeah, and then you would get by proxy into the college football playoff. That would be one of the most memorable seasons, and then hopefully you can build off of that and then retain Jimmy Rogers, because people are going to come calling if you do get that Big 12 title, whether that's in year 3, year 4, who knows, maybe 7, 8. I'm not sure. But once Rogers gets close to success, the phones are going to light up there. And that's I think that's Iowa State's biggest concern, is that another program's just going to poach our coach. And that's an unfortunate reality of it. Penn State's done it twice with Cale Sanderson and now Matt Campbell. So all the same things that you kind of laid out there with how it's supposed to be developmental, change the course, right? Be the holistic aspect of it. Penn State wants to do that too. It's not about free agency, portal free agency, and paying guys as much as possible, and basically kind of going away from that. They want it to be authentic, genuine. Matt Campbell developing football players, but also young men. And that's the idea. But Penn State is able to do that at a higher level because of the resources they have to leverage. So it's kind of the similar idea, but you can instead of pushing the rock up the mountain, Penn State can roll it down. Right. And that's why they wanted somebody like Matt Campbell and Kalani Sitake, because they had similar values. I know who they targeted first. I understand that. But Penn State, especially under the circumstances with the 54-day coaching search. Okay. Iowa State handled it in what? 5 hours?
Seconds, bro.
Yeah. 54 seconds. Penn State took 54 days. And it's worth it when you finally land on the guy that is just going to build the culture. He's an X's and O's guy primarily. I have my questions about him as a recruiter, just because, is that a product of the system with Iowa State being its Ames, Iowa and limited NIL? Or is it because Matt Campbell hasn't had to go toe-to-toe, or he has gone toe-to-toe with some better recruiters, better coaching staffs, and, you just lose those battles. So I have my questions there, is how he will initially establish himself in Pennsylvania. He's already done it, though, for the most part. Ohio, he's an Ohio guy. He has the Midwest. There are players and prospects that are going to want to go to Penn State because of that. So recruiting won't be an issue, but I'm eager to see how good can it be? How great can it be? Especially when James Franklin's going to try to target you nonstop just to get back at you, right? But national title is definitely a possibility. And I think Penn State can be successful in year 1 as well.
Yeah.
If they're able to retain key players, get some complementary players from Iowa State, absolutely can go 10-2 and kind of be what Curt Cignetti and Indiana were in year 1 of their relationship, is that you go 10-2, you have a very favorable schedule, and you could find your way as an at-large bid in the football playoff in year 1. That is definitely, I don't see Penn State taking this massive step back in a tumble where they're 4-8, 5-7, barely get to a bowl game. I think the floor is 8-4, and the ceiling is 10-2, with maybe you get lucky and you finish 11-1. They're not going to go undefeated, but it's great to know that they'll be able to have the opportunity for success in year 1.
Yeah, the way I look at this as, yeah, I'm definitely a Cyclone fan, and like watching Matt Campbell leave is tough, but I'm also a football fan. And so as a as zoomed out as I can be, just looking at the college football landscape, the advantage that Penn State has in this situation is you are Penn State, right? Like, we are Penn State. This is a massive brand, and the whiteout game and how big Beaver Stadium is and what Penn State football has been in the past, what it's about, like the brand of Penn State football is ridiculously strong. Then you also have Matt Campbell, who did what he did at Toledo and then turned Iowa State around, who in the 3 years prior to him, I think had 8 total wins. They went 8-4 this season. So he has turned a program around. And then Penn State being what it is, like those two working together, I don't see a step back. I don't know how the wins are going to turn out. I don't know the roster well enough. Like, that's what you watch Locked On Nittany Lions for. That's not what you watch Locked On Cyclones for. But just knowing what Matt Campbell is about, I don't think recruiting is going to be a problem. I think his reputation precedes him, and you have the benefit of being Penn State. I see Penn State being successful in this move. And the best way that I saw this put online was like, this is when you're at the bar, you strike out 15 times and you walk out with a 10 at 2:30 in the morning. I don't know how they did it, but I do see success in Penn State's future, because, I mean, you're going to play Iowa every year and you're probably going to dominate them. Not every year.
That's something, right? So no, I think both programs are in spots where they can benefit. I don't anticipate this full-on collapse for Iowa State, and I certainly don't expect that for Penn State. I think both programs can succeed, especially when they get momentum rolling with their new respective coaches. So that's where we're going to wrap it up on this Locked On crossover. Greatly appreciative to all of you who checked out this episode and joined us here. He is Nick Marovets of Locked On Cyclones. My name is Zach Seyko, the host of Locked On Nittany Lions, for daily updates, daily episodes around your favorite Iowa State sports teams and Penn State sports teams. Subscribe to both of the YouTube channels and wherever you get your podcasts. Nick, I really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to do this and to help me talk about the move with Matt Campbell coming over to Penn State. So thank you so much. And, we might even talk some wrestling here in the near future with Iowa State and where they're trending right now.
Yeah, talking some wrestling would be exciting, but hey, I appreciate you taking the time to kind of explain to Cyclone fans, because I know there are going to be fans who are a fan of Matt Campbell and they want to know what he's getting into at Penn State. So I appreciate you kind of laying out the framework there as well.